Okay, everybody, short film on American automotive history. And a lot of you who are not into this will be surprised to know a few things of what I'm about to tell you. I guess we'll all start out with a man named Willie Durant. Willie Durant, back in the early 1900s, was putting together General Motors, GM as we know it today. And he grabbed up the company from a man named Louis Chevy. Um, and also Oldsmobile um, and Cadillac. He actually forced the owners out of their own company at Cadillac. That was Henry Leland and his son Wilfred had created the Cadillac brand. Well, Willie Durant forced them out of their company to put GM together. So what you did is you had under this umbrella um, Cadillac, Chevrolet, Oldsmobile, and Buick. Buick was faltering, so Willie Durant put this young man to turn Buick around. And what this man did is he restructured their debt, revamped the models, and actually paid back the debt early and got Buick. He actually single-handedly saved Buick. And that young man's name was Walter P. Chrysler. He started out with Willie Durant. Walter P. Chrysler was a train mechanic on the train lines in the early days. And it goes to say that when his parents, a young Walter, took his parents' new car, he took it apart and put it back together 3 times just to see how it was built. So that's what led Walter P. Chrysler away from the train business into the car business. He was a mechanic, but he was also a fantastic organizational man. And for Willie Durant, Walter P. Chrysler turned many companies around. And it just goes to show you that, like, around the 1925 time frame, is Walter P. Chrysler was put in charge of turning around Maxwell Chalmers. And very simply, what he did is he was making the equivalent of over $500,000 a year in the early 20s. That's a huge amount of money. So when you're making that kind of money, Walter P. Chrysler very simply restyled a Maxwell Chalmers and featured it at the 1925 Chicago World's Fair. And there was born the first Chrysler car. So Walter P. Chrysler started his company, Chrysler, at the 1925 Chicago World's Fair with a revamped Maxwell. So anyway, the rest is history. There were some other gentlemen. If you recall, Henry Leland and his son Wilfred were forced out of their company in Cadillac by Willie Durant putting GM together. So what Henry Leland did is he said, I'm going to go start a motor car company after my favorite president, Abraham Lincoln. And there was born, in 1917, the Lincoln Motor Car Company. See, most people don't know that Cadillac and Lincoln were started by the same guy, Henry Leland and his son Wilfred. And ironically enough, years later, when Henry Leland was not in very good health and the company was kind of faltering, that 2 men, Henry Ford and his son Edsel, came and bought the Lincoln Motor Car Company for Ford. Meanwhile, during all of this, there were 2 brothers who were building axles and drive lines for various manufacturers. These 2 were John and Horace Dodge, the Dodge brothers. They were building axles and drive lines, and what they did is their company went up for sale at 1925 because I think it was Horace died from the Spanish flu. And so the company was sold to Dillon and Reed in 1925, and then Walter P. Chrysler, with his 3-year-old company, bought the Dodge brothers. And it's interesting, so the Dodge brothers was brought into the Chrysler line. That's where you get Chrysler, Dodge, Plymouth, etc., etc. So that's a basic rundown of just the basic dealings and what happened back in the early days and how we get all these names in the car business today. Buick is around today because of Walter P. Chrysler, of all people. Well, anyway, there you have it. Hopefully you found it interesting, and that's the way history rolls.